I feel like that's part of marriage and part of how the Lord designed it. You guys also had plenty of questions about libido. We were babies, so we had a lot to learn.
Are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine.
Before we begin, I wanted to share with you guys my friend Lana from Girl Teach Me. She and I partnered on this video, so she's also doing a wife chat today. And I hope you guys go over and check her out, because not only is she a genuinely kind soul, you guys will know that right away, but she's also very knowledgeable in terms of motherhood, womanhood, homemaking, and natural birthing. So I genuinely can't wait to hear her answers, and I hope you guys go check her out too. Well, it's not every day that I'm sitting on the ground eating ice cream, but here we are. And it's a wife chat, so I figured all the more reason to do so. Haagen-Dazs ice cream, by the way, so good and very clean ingredients. It's the only kind we have in our house. But yeah, today we're doing a wife chat, and I'm answering the questions that you asked me on Instagram. And I told you to be honest, and I promised you that I'd be honest right back, including the good and the not so good parts of my marriage and our relationship and being a wife. I want to share these because I truly believe that sharing experiences can be a really good teaching tool and learning tool. So I hope my good and bad experiences can help you, and I hope you enjoy this. Also, if we have ice cream, we have some. How did you meet, and details about your wedding, if you would like to share. Tate and I went to kindergarten together. Everyone's like, oh, but really, we didn't like each other. I don't think we're friends in kindergarten, if I can remember clearly. He went to a different school for elementary school after that. Then we went to the same middle school and continued through high school. But I have a journal entry, a diary entry, if you will, of my dramatic self admitting that I was going to be in love with Tate Matheny. And sure enough, I was. And I was just pretty much always in love with him, which is so weird to say, and it sounds dramatic, but there was just always something about Tate that drew me really close to him. We dated other people, but it was always like anytime he passed me in the hallway, my heart would go like this. And I remember each time he hugged me in high school, and we started dating in college, which was just awesome. And then we got married 3.5 years later at age 21, and we were babies, so we had a lot to learn, which is just a really good segue into these questions that you guys are asking me. So next question, how do you treat different perspectives on important things, such as, you said, such as education here? We agree on education. There are a lot of things we disagree on, and we fought like hell the first couple years of marriage on this, because really we were just so selfish and thought we were right. But we find that if there is something that we don't agree on, we kindly, gently state our opinions and just let it sit for a while. And we always discuss about every single option. There's not black or white. There's not yes or no. There's always more options, whether you believe it or not. And so that's something we do. We just give it time. We don't try to make a decision right there. Time is always on our side, especially with big decisions. God works overtime too. What's been the most surprising challenge to being somebody's wife? The most surprising challenge for me, and I've been battling this recently, is why am I the angriest and the shortest with my husband? I am not like that with anyone else in my life. And I was talking to Tate about it, and he's like, it's probably because you feel safe with me. But he was also trying to communicate. He's like, I want you to be more gentle with me. Like with any other human, I'm gentle, I'm kind. But with Tate, it's like I have these different expectations, and he knows my whole self, my real self. So I think that was the most surprising thing to me, that like, this is the love of my life. Why am I having such a hard time treating him like he literally is the most important person? Like I fight more with him, I bicker more with him. I don't know, I'm working through that, processing through it, praying a lot about it. But you know who else asked the question in here is Tate. And this goes really well with the back end of this question, which is, what's your favorite thing about marriage? When I think about Tate and I think about my marriage, the thing that comes up for me is unconditional love. And I've learned a lot about this through Tate and the way he loves me unconditionally. It's very freeing, and it's very comforting to know that the man that I am sleeping next to, waking up next to, having children with, sitting down to dinners next to, he loves me regardless of what I do. And it really just directs me right back to God in the way that he loves me. So yes, I get angry with him and I mess up a lot. But the fact that he always forgives me and he will always be there for me is so humbling, and that's by far my favorite thing that I've experienced in marriage. Unconditional love. You guys also had plenty of questions about libido. How do you keep the romance after having a baby? Low libido, postpartum, support, what do I do? Have you ever had low sex drive, and how do you deal with it? Yes, I've had low libido. I'm not an expert here, but this is how I have worked through it. One, stress kills my libido, absolutely kills it. When I'm not eating enough, when I'm malnourished, kills my libido. When I am fully nourished, eating easily absorbable foods, and when I'm really intentional about my stress levels, my libido is like through the roof, and it's great. And I feel so connected and so in love with my husband. But really, the culture today is just like squashing so many women because we're all under so much stress. And that's not really the culture to blame. Honestly, it's just our awareness and how dedicated we are to living simpler, more intentional lives. That was a huge wake-up call for me. I'm not telling anyone to do that. It was literally what I had to do in order to restore my intimate relationship with my husband. I will link some podcasts. If you haven't listened to the Freely Rooted podcast, you should listen to it. They have one on libido, and it is mind-blowing and makes so much sense. I will link that below. Ooh, anger. You guys had a lot of questions about anger too. How do you deal with anger towards your spouse? How do you personally handle anger with your spouse? Tips for angry wife. You guys just had a lot of questions. I've talked about my anger before, and honestly, I'm gonna go back to the libido question. Is when I have too much stress in my life and when my body is in fight or flight mode from the stress or from not properly nourishing my body, I'm just angry all the time. I'm angry for no reason. And I lived probably like 3.5 years of our marriage like this, and it was pretty miserable for the both of us. I wasn't aware of how important it is to nourish my mind and my body and my soul, all three things. That's why I talk about it so much on YouTube and my Instagram, because I really think the root of a flourishing woman and wife is treating your body correctly and managing your stress levels and prioritizing the right things in life. Date night ideas, some at home and some away. Great question. Home date night ideas are always just make a really easy dinner, set the ambiance, like so comfy, so warm, get in your comfy clothes, play cards, turn on your favorite movie, listen to your favorite music. Honestly, I would choose games and cards with music over watching a movie because you get to like converse and play with each other and compete, and it's really, really fun, and it just like, it makes the sparks go. Sometimes we argue because we're so competitive, but most of the time it's really nice. And some away date night ideas. Golfing is really fun in the evenings. You don't have to be good, but like driving around on a golf cart when the sun's setting, really beautiful. Turn on some music, some country music. Our favorite date night is actually to bounce around local restaurants and get the best appetizer here, and then ask them what the best salad is at the other place, ask them where you should go next, what other local joint do you suggest, and what should we get there, and just getting one small plate at each place. But you're going to a bunch of different places, you're talking to a bunch of different people, and you're adventuring with your significant other. It's so fun, and we probably do it once or twice a year, but always look forward to that. Have you ever been through something so hard in your relationship that you weren't sure if you could stay together or not? Good question. I'm gonna be completely honest here. Never have I thought about getting a divorce, but in really, really difficult times, and when Tate and I have been very angry with each other, we question, like, did I marry the right person? And I feel like that's human, and I know that I'm not the only one who has experienced that, hence why I'm saying it. Hold on, I need a bite of ice cream for this one. There are real temptations in a marriage, and we made covenants to each other, so we know that that's not ever on the table. But there are times of like extreme despair and hurt and anger, and I feel like that's part of marriage and part of how the Lord designed it. He gives us these tests to strengthen us and to remind us of what we can make it through. And the fact that Tate and I have made it through some particular circumstances is so testifying to the strength of a covenantal marriage. But I feel like that's the honest answer. I hope that makes sense. That was just really off the top of my head. It's a really good question. If you want to talk about that more below, I'd be happy to, or direct message me. How do you stay in love as much as you were at the beginning of a relationship? I would say you have to work at it. And it doesn't have to be a sad thing. The beginning of a relationship is so amazing. It's literally the best feeling in the world, falling in love. And then fast forward 5 years when you're like, I know your tendencies, you know, there's a lot of things that annoy me about you, but keeping the spark alive, you gotta work at it. Meaning you have to study each other, you gotta know what the other person, what makes them tick, what gives them butterflies, what makes them really happy, what makes them feel loved. Love languages is huge. Also, the marriage journal. I don't think I have it at my mom's house, but I'll insert a clip of the marriage journal. It's this weekly practice that you do with each other, and you ask each other questions just to check in and how you can pray for one another and what bothered you this week, what made you feel loved. And the fact that we do that every single week, we're feeling so much more connected because those questions don't come up in everyday life. And if they do, it's kind of awkward. So it's a very intentional practice to constantly be checking in and asking them, what can I do better? How can I pray for you? And physically and emotionally showing them that you want to be present for them and you want to help them and love them well. But in terms of spark, how do you keep this spark alive? Little surprises, get intimate, do things that catch them off guard. Life is busy, I get it, but those little things count. How can I help with my husband's anxiety? This is a humongous question. I hear you. Tate has struggled with anxiety and he's an open book about it. If you're interested in us sharing about how we supported him through that process of healing his anxiety, because I really do think he is healed and I think he would say the same thing, leave us a comment below and maybe I'll bring Tate on here and we'll talk about anxiety a little bit, because I know a lot of people struggle with that. Okay, last question is super simple little things you do for your husband, both practical and romantic and sweet. A few things that I do for my husband are making his favorite meal once a week and setting the mood for that dinner. I don't know if he's aware of it, but he always just gets in the best mood when he feels nurtured and taken care of. And I feel like this is part of submitting as a wife, knowing how to serve your husband well. And there's a lot more facets to submission as a wife, but I think that's one little tool that really helps him and makes him feel loved. Being intimate with him in public, not like gross PDA, but just touching him and making sure that he knows that I am paying attention and that I love him and that I want to be close to him. That makes him feel really good and respected, and not in like a cheesy, yucky way, because that literally just gives me chills, but he likes knowing that I want to be close to him. Smiling and laughing a lot, being intentional about that. He likes it when I'm happy. And honestly, playing cards is so much fun with him, especially when we're like watching Friends or listening to music. Playing cards is one of our favorite things because you're competing, so it's fun. It's fun to play games with each other and be competitive. But you guys had so many questions. I wish I could answer all of them genuinely, but I can't get to all of them. Otherwise, we'd be here for like an hour and I'd eat way too much ice cream. So I hope you enjoyed that. If you have any more questions down below, I'll answer them. I love talking to you guys, and I will try to answer every single comment on this video. So thank you kindly. A lot of you have been asking about my makeup. It's Beauty Counter. I'll tag it below in case you're interested. But that's all. Hope you have a lovely day, and happy dating your husband, and happy respectful PDA, and enjoy your ice cream.